Bernard was 35 years old, successful, wealthy, and admired in society. To many people, he was the definition of a dream man. Tall, handsome, with cars in his garage and a mansion that could make anyone jealous. But behind all the glitter and glamour, Bernard carried deep scars in his heart. For years, women came into his life. They spoke of love. They whispered promises. They called him my everything. But in time, he realized they weren't in love with him. They were in love with what he had. His money, his wealth, his lifestyle. The most painful memory of all was his former girlfriend, Melissa. Bernard had once thought she was the one. He showered her with affection, gifts, and everything her heart desired. But one evening, while attending a business dinner, Bernard finished earlier than expected. He drove to Melissa's apartment to surprise her. When he opened the door with the key she had given him, he froze. Melissa was not alone. She was in the arms of another man, laughing, drinking champagne, her voice filled with the kind of joy she rarely showed Bernard. His heart broke in that moment. She looked at him with guilt, then with boldness, as if daring him to stay. It was then Bernard understood. She had never truly loved him. She had loved his lifestyle, his gifts, his status, but her heart belonged to greed. That night, Bernard quietly closed the door and walked away. He never raised his voice. He never argued. He simply let her go. But the wound stayed with him for years. After experiences like that, Bernard became tired of false love. He asked himself late at night, "Is there a woman who can love me, not for my money?" The question haunted him. And one day, he decided to find out. Bernard began a new experiment. He parked his luxury cars and stopped wearing expensive suits. He bought an old worn-out Toyota and simple clothes that no one would admire twice. Whenever people asked about his work, he simply smiled and said he was a cleaner at a small cafe. He wanted to know who could love a man without wealth, without power, without shine. It was in this humble disguise that he met Clara. Clara was nothing like the women Bernard used to know. She was simple, warm, and content with little things. Bernard first noticed her at the cafe one rainy afternoon, reading an old novel by the window. She came often, and over time, they began to speak. To Bernard's surprise, she never bothered about his job, his house, or his income. Instead, she asked about his thoughts, his childhood, his dreams. When he told her he worked as a cleaner, she did not frown or look down on him. She only said that honest work had dignity, and that in her eyes, a man was not measured by his job, but by his character. For Bernard, those words were like medicine. He began to spend more time with Clara. They walked home together, shared roasted corn by the roadside, and laughed at small jokes. She seemed content with his simple life, and Bernard's heart began to heal. For the first time in many years, he felt a woman saw him and not his possessions. But life always has a way of testing the heart. One evening, Bernard saw a familiar figure walk through the door. It was Melissa, the woman who had broken him so deeply. She was dressed elegantly, but her eyes carried regret. She confessed she had made a mistake. The man she had chosen over Bernard had abandoned her. She realized too late that she had lost someone who truly cared. And now, she wanted Bernard back. Her words stirred old memories, but Bernard stood firm. He knew her love had never been real. The timing of her return, when she had nothing left, was proof enough. He told her it was too late, because he had found someone who valued his heart more than his wallet. Melissa left in tears, but Bernard did not look back. Weeks later, Bernard felt it was time to reveal the truth to Clara. He invited her on a drive, but instead of going to their usual spots, he drove to the gates of his grand mansion. When Clara saw the enormous house, she was speechless. Bernard then told her the truth. He was not a cleaner at the cafe, but a wealthy businessman. He explained that he had hidden his riches to test her love, to see if she would accept him without wealth. Clara listened quietly, and then she smiled. She told him that wealth did not matter to her, and that she loved the man he was, not what he had. Bernard's heart swelled with relief and joy. After years of disappointment, he had finally found what he had been searching for: true love that could not be bought. From that day, Bernard's life changed. He was no longer haunted by doubts. He knew at last that genuine love was possible, but only when he chose to be seen for who he truly was.